Hey everybody, my name is Edgar, and I'd like to welcome all of you back to another episode of Diffusing the WMSCOG. And today we got a special guest, another ex-member, all the way from the UK, Shakira. Please introduce yourself.
Yep, so my name's Shakira. I was a member of the WMSCOG from 2010 to 2024, so 14 years in total. And I was a member of the Manchester branch in the UK.
Okay. Oh, so you're freshly out. You've been
Yeah,
about a year out, right?
yeah, just over. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this is gonna be the first time I interview somebody from the UK. So I'm excited. I got a lot of questions for you. But let's just take it to the basics from the beginning. How did you get introduced to the WMSCOG?
So basically, back in 2010, I was 14 years old. I was at home, just a normal day. It was the summer holidays, so I had a lot of time off, school. And I was at home by myself, and basically, these people knocked on my door. It was these two Koreans. They basically explained to me about the Passover. So they said we're students and we'd like to do a presentation. And yeah, they showed me about the Passover and they urged me to get baptized, basically telling me that the world was going to end soon. So I got baptized in my bathtub while my parents were out, and yeah, basically ended up going to the church after that, the same day, and bringing my friend as well.
Oh wow. So right off the back, red flags because
Yeah.
you were underage, right?
Yep.
And so they baptized you without your parents' consent.
Yep.
Oh
They didn't
wow.
ask. Yeah.
And so you also mentioned they baptized you in the bathtub of your own house. Is
Yeah.
that because they didn't at that time were they like short-term preaching? Did they not have a building yet established? Or what was the reason?
They did have a building. It was a house church. But the reason why they baptized me right there and then was that's what they used to do at the time, when around the time I was baptized, is baptize people in their homes. I'm not quite sure why exactly, but I think their reasoning was that as soon as possible and any place is fine. But nowadays they don't really baptize people in their homes.
Okay. And then I also heard you say that they were talking to you about end of the world doomsday stuff. And
Yep.
so I want to kind of get into that because again, sometimes we hear things, here in the States or, even in South America. I've done a few stories there, a couple interviews, and, sometimes people will say on the internet, oh, this is just a local thing, right? This is just in my location. They might have talked about that or in just your location, but we're hearing it from all over the world. So these doomsday prophecies, let me guess, was it the 2012 prophecy that you were hearing about the end of the
Yep.
world?
Of course.
Okay. So can you elaborate on that? What do you remember that was said to you about 2012?
So when I was first baptized, they didn't tell me exactly when it would be. So obviously I was baptized in 2010, but they would kind of say very soon. But then very early on, they showed us a video, which they don't show anymore, which mentioned 2012 clearly. It was like a video about disasters and destruction and all that. And it clearly said that 2012 is likely to be the time of the end, because of like the Mayan calendar. And I think there was a few other things that was mentioned, but it was a long time ago. I do remember 2012. And then there was a point when the pastor told us directly 2012 is the last year, basically. The Passover 2012 will be the last Passover, is what we were told.
Wow, it's very good to hear you say that just because the church cannot deny it at this point. We've heard testimonies from all over the world where we were taught that. I was taught that. I came in the same year as you did, 2010, and the whole movement was around 2012, preparing everybody for 2012. They had us preparing canned foods, bottled waters, all kinds of stuff. Was it similar over there? Did they have
Yeah.
you guys? Oh wow. So
Yeah.
what was the mindset like? Because I can imagine you're very young at the time. You said
Mhm.
14, correct?
Yeah, 14 when I was
And
baptized.
and not only that, but take me to did your parents ever find out that you got baptized? How long did it take, and what was their reaction?
Uh, it was a few months, I think, after I joined, maybe 1 or 2 months. I just like kind of casually said, "Oh, I'm going to church." And I'd never been
Wow.
religious before. I'd never gone to church. So they were a bit confused, especially since I was going like every day. Like,
Yeah.
so they were a bit like, why are you going to church every day? And they got very upset with it when they found out that it was a house church. And my brother, my older brother, actually came to visit. He's 4 years older than me, and he looked around and he thought, yeah, no, this place is strange. People are very suspicious. Like everyone was smiling, which sounds like a good thing, but like a bit too much. They were a bit too
Yeah.
nice, a bit too friendly. So from that point on, he was against it, and so were my parents. Yeah,
Yeah,
which fair enough.
they definitely overdo it. They make it
Mm,
creepy, I would say. Like you said,
yeah.
it's not a bad thing to smile, but it's almost like you can see, for instance, let me give you an example. There was a lot of members that I knew because I was in the leadership of the WMSCOG that were going through things like,
Mm,
depression, anxiety, but we were told you need to smile through that. You need to anyway say we love you. We need to always look like 144,000, act like 144,000, and 144,000 do not show emotions. So we covered those things well. We disguised those things. And so when you, even though you try to disguise those things, you can still see by looking at someone's eyes. The eyes never lie. You know
mm,
when someone's going through it, and even when you hear, like God bless you. We love you. We're so excited. But you can see that a lot of these members are like torn down, that they're beat up, and it's really sad. And like you said, sometimes it's really creepy when they overdo these things. You know what I mean? It's like they're
mm,
trying so hard to convince you that there's nothing wrong. Overlook the red flags and just pay attention to the love bombing. And so it's kind of crazy to hear you, pick up on the same red flag. So it really seems like it's very similar. Let me ask you this. In the beginning, when you first joined the WMSCOG, what was the environment like besides the whole Doomsday 2012 thing? What was it like? What kept you motivated to continue to go to the church?
So when I first started, it was like, because it was a house church, it was small. And
Yeah, Shakira. So take me back to the beginning. Besides the 2012 fear mongering and end of the world prophecies, what was the environment like in the WMSCOG when you first joined?
yeah, so since it was a house church, it was really small. It was like this sort of family atmosphere. And also because there were a lot of Korean members at the time, there wasn't that many like local members, like British members. We were like some of the first to join basically. So we were just well taken care of basically. We were given delicious food all the time. Everyone was really nice and everyone gave us a lot of attention as well. Being sort of, young kids. I think we were probably quite annoying, but they were really like, friendly and like whatever we said, they just went along with it, and they were like, wow, sister, and da da da, really like complimenting us all the time. So, yeah, it was that kind of like friendly atmosphere, like family. We used to play games like board games, not video games, of course. But we used to play board games like Connect Four or Jenga. And we used to like go out and play like table tennis like outside in the garden. So we had like we didn't just study the Bible at the time. It was like we'd have fun as well and eat together, and it felt like a family
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah, that's common in the WMSCOG, but it's very telling because again, the love bombing is very real and
Yeah.
it's very like captivating, right? Like it's so easy to get caught up in that. And what ends up happening is you lower your guard to accept the indoctrination process, and it's pretty fascinating to hear you say that at the time it was mostly Koreans, and the members that were, just joining the church were all young people, as you said. And so I can imagine, like, man, that is the perfect scenario for like indoctrination into, basically get what they want and kind of prep you guys, groom you into, what they're looking for, which is someone who's going to, fit the description of gospel worker, right? And so that's what they want, because ultimately they're trying to recruit, you know what I mean? They're trying to recruit because recruitment means money, right? And
Yep.
so that is the number one thing. So let me ask you, like, in from the house church, I'm assuming that it ended up growing into office church and then a building. How long did it take? How was the process of, the preaching at that time? Were they like really trying to get you guys to go out and preach, because you were very young? So were they already telling you had to go preach? What was kind of
Yep.
going on during that time?
So there was the 10 talents movement, which
Mm.
you might remember. So they basically told us that we need to bear 10 talents. They didn't explain to us what a talent was properly at the time, actually, I think because we were young, but they basically said bear 10 fruit, like good fruit. So we were like super into it. Like, as I mentioned, I joined with my friend, who was the same age as me from school. So both of us were like super like, yeah, we want to bear 10 talents. And we thought it would be a piece of cake, to be honest, because we were so easily like led into it. So we thought, yeah, we'll just tell someone what we've heard and people will listen. But yeah, they didn't. But we would go knocking doors at like 14, 15, 16 years old. And there was a point where I remember being told not to wear my school uniform because they didn't want people to know how old we were. So I had to wear like a coat over it and stuff when I would preach after school and not like mention my age and stuff like that. So I think they knew that it wasn't right, but they were just kind of like, well, the end's coming kind of thing. That was the mindset was like the end's coming. So we have to just do our best no matter what age we are and just preach. Yeah.
That is wild to me, because again, it's not that it's so surprising their behavior, but it just brings back so many memories, and
Mm,
of where they're trying to disguise themselves. And what that also tells me is they knew they were wrong, and so they
yeah.
tried to cover it up, right? And it's just so telling, because they're putting you in harm's way. I mean, to people listening, they might be like, "Well, what's wrong with preaching?" There's nothing wrong with preaching, but when you're sending somebody underage, someone that's vulnerable, to complete strangers' houses, you know what I mean? You don't know what these people are going through or what kind of mindset, they're in. I mean, all things could happen. And so it's just it's very strange and weird behavior, honestly. And I just hope that if there's people watching this, that, you know what I mean, they can kind of get an understanding of why this place is dangerous for children, because they will definitely lie. They will lie to protect face, and they will put your kids in harm's way. So let me ask you this. Once you guys, were doing the whole preaching thing, did you guys ever get to the 10 talents, or did you not make it?
I didn't make it though for years.
Yeah,
I couldn't bearing one's hard enough, like
right.
because all sorts of things happen, right? Like they look on the internet and
Yeah,
then they leave. Or you tell them you get to the part where you tell them about Heavenly Mother being on the earth and they leave.
yeah.
That happened to me as well. I had a good fruit, but as soon as she heard about Heavenly Mother, she was gone.
And
She didn't answer the phone or anything.
that's another good point that you bring up, because nowadays they try to make it seem like they preach about An San Hong and Zhang Gilja up front,
Mm.
and that they've always done that. But we know from the very beginning, we were specifically told, don't even bring them up. You
Yep.
you you have to feed them milk, not
Mm.
solid food, little by little, right? And so it's funny to hear you say that, because it 100% confirms what members have been saying. This new wave of members that have joined, they don't know what it was like in the early 2000s, 2010s, because they didn't go through it and they're just listening to what their leaders tell them. But in the beginning, when this church started, branching out from Korea, members were discouraged from talking about Ansanhong and Zanggyeoja up front. Why?
Yep.
You just gave a prime example of it, because as soon as you tell them what you really believe, people are out the door. And so it's pretty telling to hear you say that. Now, back to the 10 talent movement, because I remember that, because you didn't reach your goal. Did you ever hear those sermons? I don't know if they were delivered over there, but like over here, they were always telling us, the parable of the talents,
Mm,
and so they would say, those who didn't bear the 10 talents is like the person who hid his talents in the ground.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so
That
they
brings
all
back some memories.
yeah, and they would make you feel like dirt, honestly,
Mm,
like you're not good enough, you're not going to make it to heaven, because when the master came back to call accounts for those who he had distributed the talents to, those who didn't complete their mission, they were torn to shreds.
yeah.
And so do you remember hearing that?
Oh yeah, especially around that time, we had lots of sermons about that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
everyone was always talking about the talents, and I was terrified to be the one who only had one talent.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can't, like, but I prayed about it, and like I tried really hard to bear fruit, but it's like impossible. Especially in the UK, it's there's not many people that believe in God. I mean, it depends, but like it's very difficult to find someone. So like I was kind of envious of like the American members and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, looks like they bear fruit so easily. But it was really hard for us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild to hear you say that, honestly, because so you guys have that perspective of the United States, where there's a lot of people who believe in God. I didn't know
Yeah.
that there's a lot more people who don't believe in God, maybe over there in the UK. But one thing that I do remember, hearing and thinking about, and I've even heard it from, people that I talk to now. They say that, in the UK, or specifically, Europe, that everything is way more relaxed. That the reason why there's more members here in the United States that are leaving is because over here there's a lot more pressure and a lot more, fear mongering, and a lot of evil things are going on, like forced abortions, what I mean, like forced arranged marriages, and so much pressure. But I want to see if, because I feel like it's the same church everywhere you go. I've heard that from a few people, but I want to hear from you. Is it completely relaxed and cool over there? Or is there the same things that go on here in the United States also going on over there in Europe?
Okay, first of all, I wouldn't say cool. There's nothing cool about that place. Um,
Exactly.
I've heard that it's more intense in America when I was a member, actually. But in my experience, like at the beginning, well, not like in the house church, but like after a while, like when it was building up to the 2012 thing, like it was very intense over here, but only for like gospel workers. So there's like levels, right? Like if you're a new member, you're never going to feel that same pressure that someone who's a gospel worker feels, with like the 10 talents and all the rest of it. So I would say like it is still, I can't say for like other European countries, but in the UK, I would say that there is still lots of pressure. But as the years have gone by and they've got like backlash, they've been a lot more kind of chill, and they change the rules a lot. Like, and then they blame the previous pastor and say, oh, he was the only one teaching that, and that kind of thing. Like, that happens a lot.
Sounds a
But
lot like of
yeah,
what's going on over here. Yeah.
yep.
So who would
It's
have
not that
thought it?
different.
Yeah. That's what I figured. I mean, obviously I know there has to be some differences, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's the same organization. You know what I mean? And so with the same teachings, and being led by the same person. And so, it's very refreshing to hear you say that. So let's get back to your story. Like, when the whole 10 talent movement was going on, and I can imagine, like you said, you were hearing those type of sermons, how much pressure you must have felt, and maybe some anxiety, because I remember hearing those sermons myself and I felt uneasy. Like you said, you never felt good enough in that place, and especially if you're not bearing fruit. I don't remember how many times I heard different sermons, about if you don't bear enough fruit, you're like the tree that's gonna wither away and be
Mm,
cut down from the roots, and the prophecy of the sickle. And you just have so many things where they're fear mongering because they want you to bear so many fruit, because in other words, they want you to bring people into this church. And if you don't, you're always catching strays. I mean,
yep.
even if you bring people in, I would say that you still feel uneasy and not good enough. But if you don't bring people in, oh, that is the worst. I remember literally coming home something, because I could bear fruit. I was good at, like, selling the church to people, a good car salesman, is what I would say. But like my wife, she struggled a lot. And I remember coming home, with her to the house, and in the past, and she would be crying, and she'd be like, "Am I gonna be the one that fulfills that prophecy, and be cut down from the roots and destroyed and go to hell?" And then you remember that song they used to have as well? It was a new song where it would say, the the man who owed 10,000 talents.
Yeah.
And like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's bringing so many memories. So I want to ask you from your perspective, like, how did that make you feel, hearing all those things, seeing all those things, and struggling to bear fruit?
Before I forget, because you just reminded me with the new song. There was a song, "If I Do Not Plow My Hardened Heart." Yeah.
Ugh.
I thought you'd know it. And it was like, I think it was the third verse, and it was like, if I don't get rid of my thorns or something, I'll be deprived of my fruit. And I thought, it's basically saying, if I don't bear fruit, that's proof that I've got this thorny, sinful nature, and I haven't got rid of it, and all the rest of it. So it's like they put it on you and make you feel guilty for not. It's not just a case of I'm not good at bringing people into the church, which was the truth, right? But it's more of a case of that reflects on my morality as well. Like I'm a bad person because I can't bear fruit. So yeah, it felt horrible. Like it was a horrible feeling, like of like feeling like because there's something wrong with me, I can't bear fruit, basically. So yeah, like they don't have to say it directly when they've got songs like that and they've
Right.
got sermons and teachings, and they'll show you like verses about like what was it about the axe is at the
Oh,
root of
yeah.
the tree or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they'd
Ugh.
always pull that one out to just scare you a bit.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I was terrified.
I remember members used to joke in the Zion that I was a part of. Now I look back at it and I was like, how is that even a joke? But they would say the axe is no longer at the root of the tree. It's literally already cutting you, in the back, and it's like, oh man, like the fear mongering is real.
Mm,
So now let me ask you this: 10 talent movement pass, and you've been hearing about 2012 up until that time. Well, when it
yep.
finally arrives, what happens then?
I mean, this is a crazy one. The gaslighting was insane. After telling us that there will be no Passover in 2013 because the 2012 Passover is the last one, the Passover announcement came for 2013. And we were like all just sat there like, Amen, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, what can you say? Like, oh, okay.
Uh,
Heavenly Mother said that there's going to be another Passover, even though she said there wasn't going to be one. Now there is. So I think a few members were not happy about it and spoke to the pastor in private. And then he gave us a sermon after that announcement. And basically, he said something about it being like, like a fire drill, like when, the alarm goes off, but it's not real. But they have fire drills to like prepare you for the real one, so you know what to do. He basically said it was like a fire drill.
yeah.
And like really like he had us thinking that we were gonna like go to heaven or possibly die
Yeah.
like in 2012, like without like a doubt. Like you said, Heavenly Mother said like 2012 Passover is the last one. And then to suddenly go back on it and be like, no, it was just a fire drill, it was just a warning. Like
That is
you know?
so insane, because I guess that there's a difference right there. In America, we heard that the reason why it didn't happen was because it was spiritual inspection time.
Oh, we were told that as well
Oh, you were
by
told that as
General Pastor's
yeah.
sermon afterwards. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And so then they also use the excuse of the fire drill. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. It makes sense. Yeah. And so they're always trying to justify, it not happening. But again, you know what I mean? This is God who said these things according to
Yep.
them, right?
According to them, yes.
And so if they say something and it doesn't happen, by definition, that's a false prophecy. And
Yep.
according to the test of the Bible of how to tell if there's a false prophet among you, if they say something and it doesn't happen, automatically they're a false prophet. But in
Yep.
order to get around that, they have to come up with these analogies outside of the Bible and say, to try to justify it. Oh, yeah, we it's okay. This is a spiritual inspection, or it's like a fire drill that you have to continuously. I mean, just think about it. How would that work with the weatherman? I could use that same analogy. If there's a weather guy who's always saying, "Oh, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain, it's gonna," and it never rains, and it's always sunny. I'd say get rid of him. I don't think he
Yeah.
knows what he's talking about. He's a crappy weatherman, right? And so my point is this church has predicted the end of the world multiple times and it's always failed, and yet members even to this day still believe that everything that comes out of that organization is truthful. And so I'm very happy to have someone like you on here today to share, even from the other side of the world, how the same things were going on even during that time. So let me ask you this, because like you mentioned the gaslighting right afterwards.
Yep.
So inside, how did you feel about that? Because you know what you heard, you know what
Yep.
you were taught.
Yep.
So how did you justify that inside yourself?
It was such a long time ago. It's kind of hard to remember. But from what I do remember, I just kind of thought, it's like at that point I'd given so much like of myself to the church, and like I'd kind of distanced myself from my family, because I was telling them that, this is the truth and Heavenly Mother and all this nonsense. Um, so they were kind of like, I felt like I can't go back on it now and be like, oh, this isn't true. So that was one part of me. And then I think besides that, it was fear of like, the pastor was very scary, the first pastor that we had. And you didn't want to get in trouble with him. And so, like, you didn't want to be the only person not saying amen when he said, like, the 2013 Passover was coming. And you didn't want to be that troublesome member because he talked about grumblers all the time, like people who are in the church, but they always complain and they always gossip and whatever. But in reality, grumbler just meant a member who has common sense and is like, basically speaking out. But they would like label them as grumblers, and I didn't want to be a grumbler.
Yeah,
I wanted to be the good one who goes to heaven. So
yeah,
I was just like, all the thoughts that I had of like, this doesn't make sense, this isn't right. I just put it down
yeah.
and just kept going. I think a lot of members are like that.
Yeah, and I think that that's very telling. Thank you for explaining that, because again, the fear, you know what I mean, of speaking out against your leader. And you mentioned something very important to me, is you said you didn't want to be the only one
Yeah.
saying something against the pastor. And in these last couple, there's a few videos I recorded that are not out yet, but I talked about ash conformity experiment. And basically it was an experiment that was done in the 50s, where a lot of people were there was a lot of people that were hired to do this experiment, and they would hire only a few people that weren't in on the experiment. Everyone else was
Mm.
paid actors. And so basically they would you know put one card on the left, one card on the right. The one on the left had one line, and the card on the right had three lines. And only one of the three lines matched the one line on the left side. And so the actors were told, which line in card two matches the one on card one. And so, all the paid actors were asked first, and they gave a wrong answer. And when they gave the wrong answer, it put all the pressure on the one person who wasn't in on it. And they were testing to see how they would react. And most of the time, that one person would follow the rest of the pack because they didn't want to be the only one going against the status quo. And I think that that is very fitting to the World Mission Society because they, like you said it yourself, you didn't want to be the only one going against the pastor. And especially if you see other gospel workers and they're all falling in line and pretending that they never heard it as well, it's very easy to just brush it under the rug yourself and even try to convince yourself in your own mind that it never happened. I know that's what I did. Like, I knew that they said it, I had it written down. But even though I knew, I still somehow convinced myself that those things were never said. And I remember when members would even ask me about that, new members, they would say, "Is it true what I heard online about the 2012?" "Oh, no, brother, that's a misunderstanding." But we lived it, and I just think that that speaks to the brainwashing, of the WMSCOG. So it's very cool to hear you say that, even from the other side of the world, how it's very similar. So now take me to through your journey there. Like, how high did you get into the church? Were you a Bible teacher? What were your roles in the church?
So after quite a few years, I became a unit leader. But I was kind of like, you could say an unofficial one for a bit. And then so I spent a year abroad in Japan. Like I studied abroad, because that was my major in university. So that was 2018. So 2018 to 2019, I was in Japan. But when I returned, I think about a year later, they made me like an official unit leader. So yeah, that was the highest I got. But I was also the work mission leader a few months before I left. It
Okay.
was intense. So
Yeah.
that's probably part of the reason why I left. It's like it was so much pressure, and I was just really, really tired and burnt out. But yeah, being a unit leader, it was like a different world to like obviously being a regular member because all of a sudden you had these meetings that you had to go to where you basically just like talk about the members and talk about like how you can make the members attend worship more, how you can make them practice tithe. Like we had like all the information on the members basically, like how many worships they kept, we had to like keep up with, whether or not they did tithe, whether or not like they were attending certain like study meetings, what how much subjects they studied, and we had to like report everything to our group leader in front of the other unit leaders, and basically yeah, like try to improve attendance and things like that. So basically we're like scheming about the members.
Yeah.
Like if a member's like attendance dropped, we'd have to be like, oh, asking the group leader like what should we do? And she'd be like, oh, we should visit them, or oh, we should tell them this, or we should study this with them, like and it's so calculating because when you're at the bottom, you don't know about all this that goes on. You just think it's very natural. Like, oh yeah, my unit leader cares about me. That's why she's giving me this, like, whatever, like study. But actually it's because she's gone to the group leader and then the group leader's gone to the overseer and basically they've like figured out this strategy of how they can like keep you in, essentially.
Yeah.
Um or make you give tithe or whatever. So it was weird. And then some of the things I was taught as a unit leader, which I was never taught when I was just a regular gospel worker, was like how we have to make people feel if they don't keep the Sabbath day. Like, so
Yeah.
this was like new to me because there was a member who didn't keep the Sabbath day very often. Like she was quite infrequent because she lived far away and she was often like visiting family during the weekend. So I told my group leader, like, obviously she's not keeping very much worships. And the group leader told me you need to make her feel bad about not keeping worship. So she said, like, when she tells you that that she can't come on the Sabbath day, you need to like say to her like, "Oh, sister, like that's really I'm really sad to hear that," and just really like put it on like a sad face and whatever, like, oh, you're missing out so much. And then when she does come back and then she says, like, how was the Sabbath day? You need to build it up like it was so amazing. We did this study and we did that, and it was so gracious, and this fragrance of Zion and this video and whatever, whatever. You have to really like build it up like she missed something, like make them feel like they missed out, basically.
Yeah.
So when she told me that, I felt really uncomfortable because I was like, I thought like when we don't come for the Sabbath day or something, we feel guilty because like God kind of makes us feel guilty in a way. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we feel guilty because we broke a promise with God. But the real reason we're feeling guilty is because the members made us feel guilty. So it was like it lets you see like the mechanisms behind
Yeah.
all the magic of Zion, if you want to call it that.
It's crazy because it's like having a favorite magician and then you know what I mean, realizing that all his tricks were BS or
Yep.
understanding how they worked and they were like cheesy tricks and half the audience was in on it and you were like the only subject and that's literally what it feels like because
Yeah,
yes, like you said, that type of stuff happened all the time that they made members feel like they missed out on something, like it was something so extravagant when in
mm.
reality what really happened on the Sabbath day? A boring
Same as
sermon.
always.
Yeah, the a boring sermon from general pastor. I remember I probably have some type of condition on my thighs now because so many times I stabbed them with a pin during service trying to stay awake for his sermons, like that's torture, honestly, like. And then after that you go directly into another Bible study and it's like it's the same Bible studies over and over because it's scripted. These
Exactly.
people are not free. Like I can go to another Christian church and hear different types of sermons. In the WMSCOG, you're gonna get one of the five sermon books, and
Yep.
and you're gonna hear tithe at least maybe three services a month, give or take, depending on how that Zion is tithing. But it's the same old thing, and
Yep.
it's pretty crazy. And then to hear you say about your point before that of like when members gather together to get intel on members, it's really like a snitch festival is pretty much what's going on because that's the whole purpose of it is to just snitch everybody out and call it the gospel work, right? This is the gospel work. Oh, that brother went to the movies, that sister's talking to that brother, like that's all that goes on in there. And yet everyone thinks, oh, those members are so blessed, there's something so special going on over there. No, bro, there's nothing special going on over there. They're gonna make you snitch, on everybody and everything. And you know what I mean? You're just coming up, like you said a perfect word, scheming on the members. That's literally what they're doing, right? They're trying to scheme on you. And so sometimes you think, oh my God, you're sitting in service and you're struggling with, I don't know, you have doubts or you saw something on the internet or whatever, and you're sitting in service, and all of a sudden the overseer, delivers a sermon about doubting and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and you're like, God is speaking to me, Father, Mother, love me, and it's like, no, bro, did you forget you told that one brother or that one unit leader? Well, guess what? They snitched you out in the snitch festival, and now they gave him ammunition to go straight at you. And so it's just funny how all over the world it's the same exact thing.
Yep.
um so
Snitch festival is very accurate.
yeah, they should add that to one of the
Yeah.
feasts. Oh, so let me ask you this, Shakira. During your time there, did you see any red flags? And
Oh
if
yes.
so, can you can you tell us about a few of them?
I don't even know where to start with red flags. Okay, start from the beginning, right? Straight off the bat, they lied to me. They told me that they were students. They were not students. They didn't tell me the name of the church. In fact, they didn't even mention a church. because then I thought they were students. When they told me about baptism, they didn't use the word baptism. They said something like spiritual cleansing or something like that, which I was later told to say as well. Um, they they when they introduced me to the pastor who was going to baptize me, they didn't say pastor, they said teacher. So, they didn't even tell me who he was. And then when they invited me to the church, they didn't use the word church. They said like gathering place or, so they cleverly used like different words to make you feel like it's not what it actually is. And they kind of like slowly revealed what it really was the more that they studied the Bible with us. So that's a big red flag. If you have to lie, like I was thinking about this actually the other day because I happened to see some Mormons just like they got on the train that I was on going home, and you know how they are. Well, I assume they're the same like in America, but like they're like missionaries or whatever. So they were like dressed up and they had like the name tags and everything. And I thought about like when they would approach me sometimes when I was preaching and it was like this spiritual fight kind of thing going on. Yeah. We always took it so seriously. And we would hate them. We actually really hated them, and we would like kind of, talk bad about them when they would go away. But when I really think about it, the WMSCOG is much worse because at least the Mormons like have their names like clearly printed and the name of the church as well. Like they don't hide where they're from. They don't like, pretend that they're just students. They'll tell you straight up like we're missionaries and we're from the church of what is it called?
Jesus Christ
The
of
wrong
Latter-day Saints.
church. That's it.
Uh,
Yeah, they'll tell you like, where they're from and they don't like hide who they are. So actually they're better than the WMSCOG because the WMSCOG literally will say like, oh, we're students from Elohim Academy. What's Elohim Academy? Like you don't make stuff
exactly.
up. So actually, they're a big red flag with the lying like that they
Yeah.
do or bending the truth kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hearing you say that, I was just thinking to myself, like, if somebody would have told me, like, hey, don't tell someone baptism, tell them that they're gonna get spiritually cleansed. I would feel more awkward saying that than to say baptism. Because if someone said that to me, I'd be like, what is that? You know? But this is the type of things that this organization does to us. You know what I mean? They turn us into creeps. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and it's so embarrassing now looking back at it. Like,
Yeah, it
you know what I
is.
mean? Like it's crazy. And like you said, it's so funny to hear you say that because I felt the same way seeing the Mormons. Either Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, it
Yeah, even
didn't
Jehovah's
matter.
Witnesses.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a spiritual battle now. You know what I mean? And it's so wild to me when in reality, all three of those places are in the same spot. You know what I mean? Like they're being deceived. And like you said, some at least show more information up front. You know what I mean? And but it's just very crazy.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's heartbreaking to see. You know what I mean? All these individuals being lied to and deceived. So let me ask you this: like, let's say because you were there for quite a bit, like, how did things start changing for you? Like, when did you start maybe realizing that or doubting or start realizing like maybe this place isn't all what they claim to be?
So the last year I was there, basically I left in January 2024, so very early on. But in 2023, I got given the position of a work mission leader. And honestly, it was just like one thing after another kept happening. There was a point where they took my unit leader position away, because I wasn't practicing Thai. But actually, what happened was I didn't have like a proper job. I had like a part-time job of like it was like 8 hours a week or something. So I was earning very, very little. And they wanted 10% of that. And I couldn't keep it up. So I think at one point I skipped to maybe a couple of months. And then there was one point where I was giving less than I probably should have, well, according to them. So the overseer called me over and had a chat with me, and basically he was at first I think he was trying to like say that because I wasn't practicing Thai, I was having a bad effect on my members, but actually my members were doing fine. for the most
Yeah.
part, you know. So it wasn't that, but like I think he was trying to figure out a way that he can like make an excuse and connect it to me not doing tithe. But in the end, he basically said like because you're not practicing tithe, you're not setting a good example for members because you have to teach members to practice tithe, but you're not practicing tithe. So he said like let's quit being a unit leader for now. So for about a month, I wasn't a unit leader, and I was so upset actually because I felt like that was my calling to be a unit leader. Like I felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, like to take care of members that father and mother have entrusted me with, and all that. So I was really upset, and I actually cried, and I actually asked him to reconsider, but nope. And then he knew like it would be embarrassing as well because he even said
Yeah.
like I know you're probably gonna be embarrassed like for other members to find out. And I was like, well, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And so he told them the other unit leaders in a meeting, and they were okay with it. But I think he deliberately held a unit leader meeting like a few days later, I think it was, um, like when the other members were around as well to like kind of leave me out of it. I feel like he did it on purpose anyway, because it was very rare that he would even hold like full like unit leader members of all the members. We would usually have it like in our separate groups at different times, but this time he had all the unit leaders join together for a meeting, and they made sure to keep the window open, so we could hear them laughing and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it
That's
was kind
wild.
of like, but at that point, I kind of got over it and was like, I don't think I want to be a unit leader anymore, because it was so much pressure and everything was always like, if you make a mistake, it's like you're a unit leader, you're not supposed to make these mistakes and blah blah blah. So you'd get into a lot more trouble. So I was actually enjoying not being a unit leader.
Yeah.
But then the overseer had asked me to basically after a month, tell him whether or not I still want to be one. So a month passed, and I was like, okay. I went to him and I told him I didn't want to be a unit leader anymore.
Mm.
And he was like, okay. And then I think the next day, he called me into a room privately to talk about it because they never do things in front of members like where
Right.
they're trying to like manipulate you, right?
Right.
So in front of members, it was like, okay, that's your choice. But then privately, he was like, trying to like convince me to be a unit leader and telling me like I should take on the burden in order to receive more blessings, basically. And obviously, I wanted to receive blessings. So I was like, okay. And then I gave in and I was like, okay, I'll be a unit leader. Um, but yeah, it was like a lot of pressure. And it made me kind of realize that there's only one way you can go. And if you try to go the other way, they'll push back and be like, no, you're going the wrong way. Like, go that way. But it's your choice, but go the right way. So they were like pushing me in that direction. And then shortly after, they made me the work mission leader. I don't know if you had work mission back when
I
you were still
mean,
a member.
I haven't. I think I've heard of it in passing from other members that I've talked to recently, but I don't remember that. So maybe you can explain a little bit about that. But before you do, I want to highlight some of the things that you just said
Yeah.
because this church is just so weird. Like again, you
Mhm.
know, you're barely making it. You're barely working. You're barely getting any hours at your job that you have, and they're mad that you are not tithing, you know what I mean, fully. And again, for a church that claims to have the free gift of the water of life, that's not
Not free.
true. It's not
Mm.
free. It's the free gift that's really not free according to the World Mission Society because you have to tithe. And they will, they have all these, Melchizedek and all these different prophecies where they'll say if you're not tithing, you're not connected to God, right? And so you're not
Mm.
receiving God's blessing. But it's so crazy to me how this place, you know what I mean, is always focused on the money. You can see it through the sermons, you can see it through, you know what I mean, the way that they hang these, titles over you, but they're conditioned titles. They're conditioned if you follow all the rules, right? Specifically tithing, then you can be here. If not, then you're no good. But then when you start realizing that actually it's better on the other side, then it's like, no, 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 we need you back over here. Like, which one is it, bro? I'm not understanding, and so they're just very, very weird. I want to say that. And they're, it really shows you the heart of what they're really after. You know what I mean? And it's all about the money. The money is what they're mainly focused on. And I can say that without a shadow of a doubt, because even through Passover during the pandemic, I remember they told us, those tell the members who have not been tithing that they're not allowed to keep Passover this year. And this is coming directly from Heavenly Mother. And I remember that was like, I mean, there was already a lot of red flags, but to me, that one was like very big, because I was like, you're selling the gift of salvation to someone, is basically what you're doing in essence. And I was like, isn't this exactly what they accuse the Roman Catholic Church of doing?
Yep.
Selling indulgences? And yet they're doing the exact same thing. And the difference, like, they have God on earth according to the World Mission Society. So God on earth is okaying that. Wow. And it just shows you the hypocrisy, of this group. But anyway, I don't know if you have something to add to that, but if not, we could talk about the work mission.
Um, there was something I forgot now. I think I just wanted to say, like, with the whole taking away the unit leader position, um, like they said at the time, like, oh, it's not a punishment, it's to like let you reflect and whatnot. And then he said it like, oh, it's a choice. If you really want to be a unit leader, you can again later, if you've proven yourself or whatever, and repented. But it wasn't a choice because it was like as soon as I said, actually, I want to go another way, it was like, no, 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 you're going this way. Like it was a force. So it was like the real reason why he took that position away wasn't just to make me think of whether or not I really want to be a unit leader. It was to make me feel scared to step out of line again
Yeah.
as a unit leader. So it's a little bit different. Like they say that they don't punish people and stuff like that, but I think that they do. They punish you to make you like it's like they beat you down to build you up again, basically. And I think that last year that I was there, they were definitely trying to do that to me because as much as they tried to give me another position, which was a work mission position, they also were like picking at every little thing that I did all of a sudden and like being very like critical and quite cruel sometimes as well, I think in order to build me back up to what they wanted. And then when I did conform to that, that's when they started to try to change me and things. Like for example, I usually wear like extensions in my hair, like braids. And at the time, I was wearing like all different colors, like pink and purple and, stuff like that. Yeah, they didn't like that.
Mhm, mhm.
They want you to conform, right? So the overseer came to me after a work mission meeting and he basically said, like, work mission leaders don't have these fancy colors in their hair. They just have like natural hair colors and whatnot. So he basically said from now on, don't have those colors. And, it really made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't leave immediately after that. I did leave maybe a few months after that. But at the time, it made me so uncomfortable because it was like you controlling like my time, my money, and now also my appearance as well. Like it was like I had nothing to myself kind of thing. So it made me really, really uncomfortable and like the audacity as well. Like
Yeah.
it's just rude. Like,
Yeah.
to tell someone like how to dress or how to do their hair or makeup or whatever. And that was another thing as well was makeup. Like at the time I was told by my group leader, like, you have to wear makeup on the Sabbath day. Why? Like, there's no like
Yeah.
reason. Like there's not in the Bible. Like,
Yeah.
but it was like, no, you have to because, you're meeting God, so you have to look your best. But who says the standard is makeup? Like,
Yeah.
so I was like basically rebuked for not wearing makeup and everything basically. Like the way I dressed and everything was just like picked at. And I felt like they was just picking me apart to make what they wanted, like a cookie cutter gospel worker, which I wasn't.
It's
Yeah.
it's so fascinating to hear you say that, because one, when you were talking about how they made you feel like as an outcast, even holding a meeting to basically like show that you're not part of this group anymore. Look how much fun we're having. It shows you their intention, their heart.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about, them trying to break you down, and turn you into this cookie cutter, image that they want you to look like. That is so true. And that is something that I've heard from almost every single ex-member that I've talked to, is in some way, shape, or form, they've tried to break you down to build you back up the way that they want. But that's a cult tactic right there, because in order to get you to where they want, they have to completely break you. They have to make you make like everything that makes you you. They have to get rid of that. Your connections to your family, to your friends, your critical thinking, your logic, common sense, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way that you act, everything. They have to strip you of it in order to start building you back up through the indoctrination process to make you be what they want you to be. And I think that that's very dangerous, and it affects members in ways that they don't know. And again, to your point, like, they make, you wanted to be yourself. I want to wear extensions, I want to wear different colors, in my hair. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Where in the Bible, where does it say that there's something wrong with that? And what they want is, so what is the standard of beauty and perfection? Zangyo not San Home? Like, bro, I can think from a sister's point of view. Like, I ain't trying to rock that nappy taper fade that she's rocking. Like, no, I don't want that. And the same thing with the brothers. I'm not trying to dress like a 60-year-old Korean man with a comb over and talk the way that, no, like, it's so weird. And then let me just confirm this with you as well. Did you ever hear that Korean culture was heavenly culture?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they didn't say Korean culture is heavenly culture, but they said it's the closest to heavenly culture,
Yeah.
which is basically the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you feel that, like they're superior, from the get-go. I
Mm.
remember that we felt that, you know what I mean? Because it was told to us, you know what I mean? Like, I remember one time Pastor Daniel Park was saying, American members are so greedy. They're nothing like Korean members. And I'm just like, man, talking from the guy that's always about money, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
it's just it's so weird to me, honestly, like how this place operates. But anyway, please continue. I want to know more. I want to learn more about the work mission. What does that entail? What is that actually?
So the work mission, as I understand it, as we were taught, is basically like a program, if you will, to like help you to walk with God 24/7,
Uh,
basically. Which you know what that means.
yeah.
But basically what it was is members who were young adults but worked. So not university students, because they have a separate one for university students. They were basically asked if they wanted to join, but it was very pushy. They'd show you this amazing video about like how the work missions changed members' faith and all this, and then go, yeah, so sister, and then they hand you like, the thing to sign, and would you like to join? It's not a choice.
Yeah.
But like so basically it was we would meet every day, Monday to Friday, early in the morning before work. So it depended on like everybody's work schedule. Like if you had to, so we would meet like over Zoom. So we didn't have to like leave the house or anything. But if you started work really, really early, then obviously you had to meet earlier. So we would meet probably, I think we were about 7 a.m. So we weren't too bad. And we'd meet over Zoom, we'd pray together. Usually we would read one of the books, like one of the sermon books, and we'd share Fragrance of Zion, and then any announcements or whatever, and then basically pray again. So it was like a half an hour, something like that, meeting every morning. Then we'd go to work and we'd have like specific missions to do, like compliment your co-workers or stuff like that. Like try and butter them up, try and bring them to the church, basically. That was the whole point of the work mission, was like while you're in work, don't think you're away from Zion. When you're in work, you need to do the gospel, you need to be preaching and bothering people and
Yeah.
sharing like postcards and whatever else, that they had, and trying to bring them to like events and stuff. So we would like hold events and try to bring our co-workers to them. But yeah, I was only in the work mission for about I think about a month before I ended up leaving because
Mm,
it was so much stress. Because
yeah.
I was expected to do so much. Not only was I unit leader now, but I was the first work mission leader in Manchester because before that there was no work mission. And so it was just a lot of pressure. And everybody was like, oh, sister, you're doing such a good job, blah, blah, blah. And I remember how I was picked to be the work mission leader. So it was shortly after I got my unit leader position back, after going through all that hullabaloo. And basically the overseer came to me privately and he said, it was a choice out of me and another sister who was a unit leader, who was very dedicated and really wanted to be a work mission leader as well. And deep down, I wanted her to be it as well. I didn't want to be the work mission leader.
Yeah.
But the overseer came to me privately and he said, I flipped a coin and prayed.
Really?
We cast a lot or whatever it was. I think he cast a
Yeah.
lot, maybe not flipped a coin. But he was like, I cast a lot and prayed and it came to you. And he was like, congratulations. And I was like, I really didn't want it. But I was just like,
Uh,
I'm in.
that's
It's
wild.
horrible.
It's like the gift that I didn't
Yeah.
want.
When you
Yeah,
can't refuse.
exactly. And it's like getting a it's like getting an ugly sweater on Christmas and
Yeah.
I mean
I have to wear
having
it.
to wear it, it's just wild to me.
Yeah,
It's
that's how it
hilarious.
felt.
That's hilarious. And I'm just thinking to myself, now that you explained it, I do remember that. I do remember now the work mission that was a thing
Oh,
here as
okay.
well. And yeah, it's just another way to occupy the members' time to
Yep.
basically not have any time for yourself. You're just constantly living, breathing the church. You know what I mean? And what does that do to somebody psychologically, like mentally? Like it's so draining. You have no
Mm.
time for yourself. Like, come on, World Mission Society, do better, bro. Do better. If you're watching this, like, what's next? Vacation mission? So when members finally get to take a vacation, they gotta, talk to the people they're on vacation with. Or I got a better one. How about sleep mission, right?
Yeah, they'll
And
find a way.
yeah, you can communicate with someone in your subconscious. I don't know. It's just getting ridiculous at this point. Like, let people breathe.
Yeah.
Man, you guys are like more like so toxic. You're very toxic. You guys gotta let people breathe, and
Yeah. Yeah.
but again, I think that speaks to why they're very successful at keeping members in is because if you occupy a member's time, right, 24/7, you're giving them something to do. It takes away that ability to critically think for themselves, a time to step outside the box and be like, man, what's going on here? Am I really happy? They take all of that from you. They make you feel like your logic and your common sense is actually the devil. They make you feel like the tool that you can actually use to research them is of the devil. They make you feel like if you do anything for yourself, to care about yourself, to look out for your health or anything, like, oh, that's of the devil, because you're giving time to the world instead of focusing on father and mother and all the brothers and so that place just turns you into a shell of yourself, and you, because you cut off everybody, all you have is them. And it's just very cruel. And so yeah, it just really makes me want to expose them all the more.
Yep.
But Shakira, I want to get to my favorite part, unless you got anything else to mention. But I want to ask you, like, when was it that you actually started like waking up and be like, okay, I think it's time to go? Like, take me through that process. Like, how did you actually end up leaving?
So it was almost like a light bulb went off kind of thing. Basically New Year's Day, I believe it was, or New Year's Eve. No, New Year's Day. Um, so I don't know if it's the same in your church, but what we had was like every New Year's we would have like a big meeting with all the gospel workers, and we basically plan for the year, like what we're gonna do, how many like souls we want to save, all the rest of it. So we had that, and then we also had like they gave us like the result of the last year, like the gospel work, like how many people were baptized, how many people now practice tithe, whatever, whatever. And they had like a graph that they showed us, and it like it was like increasing, sure, but barely. Like,
Yeah.
and the thing is like every year they say like it's gonna be the end. Like it's gonna be, father's coming this year, father's coming this year. And I thought last year you were saying that and the graph was the same. This year you're saying that and the graph is the same. Like, where is this big thing where it's just gonna shoot up like bamboo? Because like I'm not seeing it like,
Yeah.
2012 was supposed to be the end, nothing happened. Then there was that whole 2014 thing, nothing happened. And now, like, it's 2024 and still nothing was
Nothing.
happening, So I was just like, I was just tired. I was like, it feels like we're just running around, like, on a hamster wheel or whatever. And then this year we had to, like, I mean, at the time, that year, I should say, we had to, like, make, plans of what we were going to do, like how more we were going to like sacrifice for the gospel, because it's always about me, like it's my fault, so I have to do more, right? So it's like, I'm going to pray more and do this app because they brought out all these apps like around
Mm.
maybe after COVID or during COVID, like there was like a prayer app and like my memo and all these different ones. So it's like I'm going to do this every day, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to pray at 5 a.m. or whatever, whatever. So it was just like tiring to see like we're making all these efforts and father and mother, apparently, are not like really responding to it. Like they're not letting us bear loads of fruit and whatever. And like we're not seeing this like what was it like in the Bible where they preached on the Pentecost to like what was it, like
Mm.
300 people or something. And
Yeah.
then we were always told that's gonna happen here, that's gonna happen one day. It didn't happen
Yeah.
even once, not even half of that. Like,
Yeah.
so it was just kind of like, stop saying stuff that's not happening.
Yeah.
So that kind of basically made me feel like disillusioned. And then the next day, oh, I tell a lie, it was New Year's Eve. And then the next day was New Year's Day. So the next day was a holiday. So we didn't have anything to do, like in Zion. Zion was closed. So it was just like stay at home, study the Bible, prepare for the next day and for the year, and maybe spend time with your family, kind of thing. So I spent the whole day doing not much, basically. Like, because what do? You don't have hobbies, like,
Right.
when you're a member of Zion. So it's like if I'm not studying the Bible or praying or preaching, I'm not really doing anything. So I didn't really do much, and I had a lot of time to think. And then when I was like thinking, I was like, this is a cult. Like
Mhm.
I just allowed myself to have that thought of like, this
Yeah.
is a cult, isn't it? Like it's what I always knew, but like I always pushed it back and was like, no, no, that's Satan and that's, doubting and stuff. But I thought about it logically for like basically the first time and I was like, this is a cult, isn't it? Yep, yep, I've been tricked. And it was kind of hard to admit it to myself, but I couldn't ignore it because there was so many red flags and like it was just like another thing that had happened maybe a few weeks before that is I actually, while preaching with the work mission, I actually bumped into someone from another Korean cult,
Oh, really?
Shincheonji.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And that was weird because she didn't tell me who she was. Obviously, I preached to her because I approached her and she wouldn't tell me where she was from. But she said something about she's been to Korea before and she knows about my church. And she was being very cryptic when she was talking. And then she started talking about the book of Revelation and how someone should be able to interpret the book of Revelation. If you can't interpret the book of Revelation, you can't receive salvation or something like that. And I was like, that sounds so familiar to something I've heard before because I had looked up cults before and I'd looked up Shincheonji and I kind of knew what they sort of believed in, like with their pastor and stuff. So, it kind of like rang bells. And then finally I realized, oh, she's from Shincheonji and she's trying to recruit me.
Yeah.
So it was like looking in a mirror, like, of like almost like an alternate reality. Like I'm trying to preach to you and then you're trying to preach to me and we're both
Yeah.
being deceptive. And it
Yeah.
was like this weird thing. So that made me think a lot because she almost convinced me what she was saying almost like made sense. And then I realized like it's not like what you say, it's like how you say it. So if you say it with enough like conviction and like you follow the script and everything, it's possible to like, trick someone. And so the way she was teaching me, whatever it was she was trying to explain, it was very similar to the way the WMSCOG like insists on things and tries to like kind of like lead you to a conclusion, basically.
Yeah.
Like there's only one answer with them, right? Heavenly Mother,
Yeah.
Passover, whatever, whatever. So it was the same sort of thing. And so I was thinking about that as well. And I was like, you know what? Like people can get sucked into cults like that easily who's to say I haven't been sucked into this cult? And it only feels like not a cult to me because I'm so used to it. But like I couldn't deny like how similar it is to other cults, especially Korean cults. And then it was just like, you know what, it's nothing special, it's just another cult. Like, yeah, so at that point, I decided to make a plan to leave. So I was thinking of going back to Japan, basically doing a working holiday, but I needed to like save money. So I started trying to save money, and then at the same time, still pretended to be like a member, and just kept everything normal and cool, you know, doing
Yeah.
the work mission, being a unit leader, preaching, which was really hard,
Yeah.
and just trying to like put on a brave face because I knew like if I tell anyone I'm thinking of leaving, that's it. Like they're gonna be like all on me and like, you know, watching me 24/7 and trying to like convince me that like I've gone crazy, like, you know, that Satan's got to me basically. So I was like, I'm not telling anyone. I'm just gonna play it cool and then I'm just gonna disappear. I'm just gonna do the work mission. Not the work mission. I'm gonna do the working holiday in Japan and just fly away and not tell anyone I'm gone. And then when I get there, then I'll tell them all like I've left. Don't come and search for me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was my plan. But after about, I think it was just under 2 weeks, I was like, can't take it anymore. Like knowing that you're in a cult and like knowing that like it's all fake and whatever and you don't even believe it anymore and you're just pretending to everyone, like it was really like hard because it felt like it wasn't fair on them as well as myself because they were all, well, I imagine most members are genuine and like, you know, they were very like they were believing it all and I was just like lying to them basically. So I didn't like that. And then I didn't like just having to do it all even though I didn't believe in it. Because it's like, what's the point of waking up early and you don't believe in it? So in the end, I was just like, no, like I'm just gonna leave. So I basically said to myself, right, I'm gonna keep the last worship, which is the third day worship. And then when I go home, I'm going to text the overseer and I'm going to tell him I'm leaving. So I kept the worship and I was like so excited, but also scared. So I was like, this is my last worship. Yes. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I was like, oh, I'm scared. What are they going to say? And like, I said goodbye to everyone. Even because I was a unit leader, I had to fill out the attendance of all the members in my unit who showed up. So I filled out the attendance like normal. And then, you know, I handed it into the overseer and I was like, okay, see you tomorrow. And I left and I was like, God bless you to everyone. And yeah, I never looked back. I
Wow.
sent the overseer the message that night and he was not happy. Like he was texting me back like a lot and saying like, you know, please like reconsider, like let's meet tomorrow, let's just talk. And I was like, I don't want to talk. Oh, let's just meet outside Zion, let's go for a coffee, let's just talk. I don't want to talk. And I kept saying I don't want to talk, I don't want to talk, and he just kept on repeating like let's just meet, blah blah blah. And in the end I was just like, I'm just gonna go to bed because it was like late. So I went to bed, went to work the next day. When I finished work, I remember it was because it's January, it was dark as well. And I must have got home about 6 or 7 o'clock, maybe. I can't remember. But I remember it was dark. And on my street, outside my house, waiting for me was the overseer
Oh
and my
wow.
branch. And I was like, are you serious? Like, so yeah, they basically came up to me and they were like, oh, let's go for a coffee, let's go for a coffee, like, you know. And they wanted me to get in the car and drive like to the nearby coffee shop. And I was just like, is this happening right now? And they were like kind of pretending like I didn't just say don't come and visit me because I clearly said like don't come and visit me.
Yeah.
And like I said it to the overseer, I was like, I said not to come, and he was like, like he was pretending he didn't understand, which is something they do a lot. And
Yeah.
then in the end, they actually convinced me to just sit with them in the car. So I sat with them in the car. They put on their seatbelts and started driving. I was like,
Wow.
I'm being kidnapped right now.
That's
So
insane.
I knew I wasn't, well, I think I knew I wasn't in danger, right? Like, you know, I was fine. But at the same time, it's very rude because I said we'll sit in the car and talk. Next minute, they're driving me to the coffee shop. So yeah, they drove me there, and then we must have sat there for like maybe about 3 hours. And I was tired as well because it was after work and it was late. And we were just talking, and they asked me like, "Have you seen things on the internet?" Like they were trying to get to the bottom of why I decided to leave. And basically, yeah, they said like, you know, you've got questions, ask basically. So I was like, okay. So I asked a couple of questions, and they kind of used the Bible, not really, to answer, you know, my questions. And I was like, okay. And you know the way that they're quite good at like convincing you. So I was kind of on the fence at that point, like, oh, like, am I making a mistake? Because they said to me, like, God's given you so many blessings. Like, you become a unit leader again, you're a work mission leader, like, you're doing so well, you're preaching so hard, like, blah, blah, blah. So obviously, like, Satan's gonna come and try to, ruin that. So I was like, that makes sense. Like, so I was on the fence. And then they said, just meet us again one time, like next week and like study with us again. So I was like, okay. So I agreed to it. But after a week of not being in the church, of just being free, I was like, you know what? Like, that place is not true. Like,
Yeah.
once you're in the outside world and you're like outside looking in, you can see it so clearly. But when you're in it, you're like, I don't know. Like, even when you know that it's a cult, you don't really know and you're like unsure.
Yeah.
So like once I'd spent some time away, I was like, I know I don't want to go back. Like even if it's true, I don't want to go back. Like to be honest, because it was like to go to hell would probably be better than to stay in that place because like some of the way that I was treated there, especially in that last year that I was there, like I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So
Yeah.
it was like at this point, even if I'm in the church, I'm still afraid to go to hell. I might as well just pull the
Yeah.
plug. So yeah, I just kind of thought, even if it's true, I'm not coming back. But I don't think it's true. And I told him like, don't contact me or I will call the police because, come into my house when I've said don't come and visit me. That's
Yeah.
crazy. you know.
Yeah, that's wild. And not only that, but they drove you off,
Yeah,
against your will. That's like beyond a red flag. That's
absolutely.
criminal. Like, regardless if they were, thinking about harming you or not, that is, like you said, very disrespectful.
Mm,
Because you already matter of fact, they should never even have been at your house. You told
yeah.
them, don't visit me. Not only did they visit you, they pretty much kidnapped you and took you to a coffee shop. And the
Yep.
funny thing is, I guarantee it seems like they were telling you, "Oh, you're doing great. You have all these blessings. Let's go get this coffee." Guarantee you, they didn't have that same tune when before that. Before they thought
Mm,
you were leaving. Did they ever invite you to go get some coffee before that?
no.
Did they ever tell you, "Oh, you're doing such a great job"? No, it seems like before that, they're focusing on, are you tithing? Are you doing this? How
Mm,
can we amplify to her load to get more out of her? Now all of a sudden, oh, let's go get some coffee. You're doing such a great job. And it just
mm.
shows you like this place is just, it's outrageous, the gaslighting, the hypocrisy, you know what I mean, that they display, and they will not take no for an answer.
No.
They will push you and push you and push you. And to your point, that's why it's so hard for members to leave, because they even had you second guessing yourself, right? They even had you second guessing yourself, even in the car. It took some time apart for you to be like, no, like, maybe I don't understand why they're wrong biblically, maybe I don't understand all the ins and outs, but I know that it doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right, and I don't want to be there anymore. And
Yep.
I commend you for that, because everything else that can be worked out. If you ever want to find out why it's a cult biblically or historically or whichever, you can do that, you know what I mean, on your own time. But what you
Yeah.
can't do is find that out while you're still in, because when you're in, especially if they have a hunch that you're already doubting, they will bombard you with love bombing, with, what I mean, so many things to fill up your schedule, so that you don't have that opportunity to think, or to use your logic. So I commend you for doing what you did, because yeah, it's crazy, and pretty
Thank
cool.
you.
You have a pretty cool story. I have two more questions for you. So one of them, it'll come to me. If not, it'll just be one question. But so one question that I have is, did you ever hear in the UK that Heavenly Mother would not pass away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was such a long time ago though, so it's hard to remember like who said it and all the details. But I do remember having that thought just implanted. Like everyone knew that like Heavenly Mother won't pass away. So someone must have taught us, right?
Yeah.
Like whether we saw it in a video, in a sermon, heard it from the pastor, I can't really tell you because I don't remember. But everyone knew that. Like it was just common sense.
Yeah.
And then like I'm sure it's been mentioned on this channel before about the new songs
Yeah.
being changed. Like I loved the new songs.
Yeah.
Like I was like number one new song fan, and like I knew practically every new song and whatnot. And there was like the song like I think it's "We're Going to Heaven,"
Mm,
which said like the 144,000 will go to heaven with mother. Like it's pretty obvious what that means.
yeah.
The 144,000 we were taught would go to heaven alive. So if they're going to heaven with mother, mother's going alive as well, right?
Yeah.
And then I heard something about like mother will go up first and then
Yeah.
the 144,000 will follow. And then there was a song that I think they also removed, The Day of Glory. I think we did it in the
Mm,
choir before. And it said like, um, Father will come in glory and whatnot to meet mother. She's going to
yeah.
be there on the last day,
Yeah.
alive, right?
Yeah.
So she shouldn't die, according to the new songs and according to just honestly like common sense of members, like from what
Yeah.
we knew. So yeah, we were definitely taught that, but then we weren't taught it later on. Like as the years went by, as she got older, that was like hush hush almost. Like,
Yeah.
if anyone mentioned it, like, is mother gonna die? It was like, you can't say that. You can't ask that, and you'd kind of get not shunned, but you'd get like maybe rebuked if you were like a gospel worker. But if you weren't a gospel worker, you just kind of get like an awkward reaction, like,
Yeah.
let's not focus on that, like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that that's very fascinating you saying that because there's like I said, this new wave of members. We've seen it even in the comment section, like, oh, the church never taught that.
Mm.
100% the church taught that. I think everywhere around the world that all these people that I've talked to from everywhere, they all remember that in some way, shape, or form. So this didn't come out of nowhere just because right now maybe you can't remember exactly where you heard it, but that
Mm.
that it was there, and all these members, like I was one that used to teach that because I was taught that directly, you know what I mean? So, and it's not like the church can deny it. It was in the new songs, like you said,
Yeah.
that's why they removed them. It was 100% a teaching of the church, but just like everything else, because they know the inevitable is going to happen, now it's time to switch things up. So I'm very happy that I asked you about that, and I have one more question for you. It was about, dang it, I just had it in my head. I think it was actually about the new songs. Was it about the new songs? Uh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. This happens to
Um,
me all the time.
yeah, yeah. Never mind. I think I'll probably cut this part out, but yeah. I had, yeah, I'm gonna cut this out. So let me think for a second. Let's see. What question did I have? I know I had, was it not about Elijah? Uh, no, I guess never mind. It'll probably come to me as soon as we hit end on the on
Yeah.
the video. I'll be like, there it was. Okay. All right. So we'll just pick up right here. Okay. So Shakira, I do want to ask you, like, since leaving the WMSCOG, how has life gone for you? How is everything going right now?
Amazing. Like honestly, like just freedom, like having freedom is one thing. Like having freedom to do whatever you want kind of thing. Like I told you, like they basically said to me like to change my hair and stuff. That was the level of like control that they had. So for me now it's like the freedom to like explore things like and see like what I like and what I don't like. Like today's Saturday, but I'm at home.
Yeah.
You can't tell, but I am at home, like basically just chilling and not feeling guilty for like having a rest. Like, being able to like rest and like not feel guilty is one thing as well. Um, yeah, life is just so much better because I'm not being controlled, like basically. Like it's like a world of difference, like just being able to do what you want.
Yeah, for
Basically,
sure.
yeah. And like after work, like I don't have to think, oh, I have to go to Zion for a meeting because they had meetings like every day. But like now it's like, finish work, going home, or gonna go hang out with a friend. whatever, like spend time with my family. Like I couldn't do that like when I was a member. When I was a member, I had to ask to spend time with my family. And one time, like my group leader pushed back on it, because she said, "Oh, you're spending too like." She didn't say you're spending too much time with your dad, but she said, "Do you have to spend so much time with your dad?" Which is the same thing, you
Yeah.
know. They just have a way of saying things. And like so, just having that freedom and not feeling guilty, not feeling afraid of hell all the time, or of punishment or like not even just punishment, just like judgment by other members, for dressing a certain way, for like living my life,
Yeah.
not thinking like I'm gonna have unit leaders or group leaders talking about me in a meeting because I've done this or I've done that or whatever. Not feeling that pressure to be perfect because no one is perfect. Like, but they make you feel like if you're not perfect, you need to repent and you need to repent with tears. Like,
Right.
if you're not
Yeah.
perfect, you need to feel really, really bad. You need to fast, you need to like whatever. And it's like, but no one's perfect. So,
Right.
you just always feel bad. But now I don't feel that pressure and I don't feel guilty or, anything like that. I can go on holiday. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't go on holiday for like years because I didn't want to miss the Sabbath day. Because if I missed the Sabbath day, you'd get like members being like, "Oh, sister, like, you missed the Sabbath day to go on holiday. Oh, I'll pray for you." Like,
Yeah.
that's
That's the
so
worst.
backhanded. Like,
Yeah.
but that's the kind of thing they would say. Like, maybe not literally like that, but something similar.
Yeah.
But now it's like I can do what I want. Like, the only people I need to ask for permission to go on holiday is my work because they're
Yeah.
actually paying me, not like, the women's going taking money
Yeah.
off me.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah.
That's good. That's good to hear that life is getting so much better for you. I'm happy that you're spending more time with your family. Um, I also heard that you wrote a book, correct?
Oh, yes.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
So as of now, I actually wrote two books.
Okay.
So they're both available on Amazon. The first one is called Church or Cult: My Experience with the World Mission Society Church of God, and the second one I actually have with me because I was planning to potentially read a bit out,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we have time.
Yeah, we
But
do.
it's I escaped a cult. Now what?
Okay.
Basically, and it's a follow up. So I wrote the first book last year and basically explained from the beginning to the end my experience. I found it easier to get it out like in book form, so I didn't miss anything. I thought, it was like therapy, kind of getting it out as well, like being able to explain my experiences and what I was going through and what was my mindset and all that kind of thing. But after that, this year, I decided to do a follow up because I had some thoughts that I hadn't put in the book because I hadn't thought of them yet, really. Like, little theories and little things like that I hadn't mentioned that I'd kind of, as I'd been away from the Wilmington Society Church of God, I started to sort of think like, obviously I realized it's a business, but then I also started to understand like how things that I missed at the time when I was there were actually like playing into this, like of it being a business and of them operating a certain way, which I wasn't aware of at the time. So some of it's just theories, but some of it I think is probably definitely true. But yeah, I wrote stuff like that and also a follow up about how I've been doing since I left because I joined when I was 14, so I didn't have much experience in life basically. So after leaving, I had like a lot more different experiences that the church doesn't really allow. Nothing crazy,
Yeah.
of course, but honestly, just normal life because the church doesn't
Yeah.
allow you to live a normal life.
Right.
So I kind of wrote about that and how, like, I know for members, like, it can be like scary, like for me at least, like even looking at like ex-members' videos and stuff was like really scary, because you're like, I'm being influenced by Satan right now, kind of thing. But I kind of wanted to explain like it's scary when you leave, but it's definitely worth it. Like because if you stay, you're just staying in this like bubble the rest of your life, basically. And so through this book, the second book, I wanted to kind of also explain about that, like how life has changed, but actually in a good way. And you shouldn't be afraid of that change because it's just like returning to normal life, which is way better than basically being in a prison because that's what I would say the WMSCOG is, honestly. Like a
Yeah.
mental prison,
Yeah.
sometimes physical.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
Okay. And so you said we can get these books on Amazon, correct?
Yeah.
Can you put it up to the
But
screen again?
yeah,
Yeah, I
I don't
want
think
to
it's
check it
working
out.
that well because of my oh, yeah,
There
because
it
of my
is.
background.
I escaped a quote. Now, oh yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
definitely check that out. So yeah, I encourage members to check that out. Maybe you can send me a link and I'll post it on the description of the video as
Oh,
well.
that's a good idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll do
that's pretty cool because that means you've been really active since you left. Because it's been
Yeah.
like going on what 2 years now, right?
Almost, yeah.
Almost 2 years. So okay, so I guess I got one more question for you. So I guess what is it that makes you want to tell your story?
Um, so basically because there's people like me in the WMSCOG, if that makes sense. There's people like me, and there's also people that I still love actually, like who are members. And so I think like, writing the books and telling my story, like if it helps like at least one person to like think outside the box and think actually maybe I'm not in the best situation because of this place. Maybe I should step out. Maybe I should consider other options. I think like that's worth it. And like I wrote about this in my second book, but after writing the first book and doing like interviews, all the members basically who were speaking to me, or the majority of members who I was still speaking to, even though I wasn't a member anymore, they just cut me off. Basically, they
Uh,
stopped answering. And I knew that that would happen, to be fair, like,
yeah.
because I was told, like, in Manchester, we had a member who left and who spoke out on YouTube on Great Light Studios.
Mm.
And he was immediately like, everyone said, he's not allowed to come back. He didn't want to come back anyway, but he's not allowed to come back and don't talk to him. Please, please don't talk to him. Our pastor said. So I knew they're going to do the same to me. They're going to say, like, she's working for Satan now. She's not our sister anymore. Don't talk to her. So I don't blame the members, like, who don't talk to me anymore. Like, I do get it. But at the same time, like, I do kind of want to reach out to them and, like, kind of say, like, it's much better on the outside. Like, trust me, you
Right.
know, like just try, like, to sort of step out of it. Even if like you end up going back, which it never happens, right? If someone tries like spends, let's say, a month away from the WMSCOG, they don't want to come back because then they
No.
can see the reality of what it really is. And
Yeah.
then why would you come back to something fake? So, I just kind of like want to encourage those members really, like who are still in it, not just the ones that I knew, but the ones everywhere around the world to kind of like think like, is this how I want to live the rest of my life kind of thing. Yeah, that's basically why I wrote the book. So it's one of the reasons anyway. It's why I wrote the second book. It's kind of to say, look, like, you're not in the best situation right now. You're not in the best position. You could be actually living a life and being able to think for yourself. Like religion wise, like no matter which direction you go in away from the Whimsicott is probably better than staying in the Whimsicott. So whether you continue to believe in God and you go to another church, hopefully not another cult,
Yeah.
church, or whether you decide like me, like that you don't believe in God anymore and then you just live in a secular life, anything is better than like staying in the Whimsicott, I believe, because even if you are still religious, you can have freedom to think for yourself. But in the
Yeah.
Whimsicott, you can't think for yourself. You just spoon fed everything, and you're not allowed to question anything that they say. And it's not like you're allowed to have a healthy biblical debate or something like that. You have to just accept what they say. It's the root of David, blah blah blah, and that's not like healthy. So
Yeah.
a bit rambly, but
No, no,
yeah.
that's good. That's good. Honestly, I appreciate the honesty and and you're right. We all have our own different journeys. You know what I mean? And but whatever journey that is, anything outside of the WMSCOG is better, other than joining another cult,
Another
right?
cult, yeah.
But I think that's very telling because yes, it's not a healthy environment in that place, and I say it all the time. People that go in there develop anxiety issues, depression issues, or worse, if you come in there with already a pre-existing condition like that, it only amplifies it. And it's almost impossible to get the help that you need in there because their help is read the green book. You know what I mean? And it's just
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Preach.
Like, yeah, preach. Preach it away.
Heard
Preach.
that so many times.
And so I know I said I only had that one question for you, but I got one more question for you. The last question I have for you is if any current members watching this right now, what advice would you give them?
Any current members watching, I would say, if you're having doubts, which is probably why you're watching, um, I would say keep a diary because I actually kept a diary when I was leaving, and writing it every day. So when you come home from Zion and it's like late at night, whatever, just find the time, just 5 minutes. It's not, it doesn't take long to just write down like what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you've experienced. Because like there was times when like I would experience something very intense in the church, like being rebuked, for example, and I wouldn't write it down. And then a few days later, I'm being love bombed, and then I forget that I was rebuked a few days before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have a way of like bringing you up and putting you down and bringing you up and putting you down constantly. So like when you're up, you forget like
Yeah.
how low you were in the first place. So by writing it down, like this happened today and this deaconess said this to me and blah blah blah, you know that you're not like exaggerating because you're writing it down straight after it's happened. So you know that you're thinking straight when you're writing it and you're not like misremembering anything. Like these are the facts because you're writing it basically as soon as it happens. So I would say keep a diary and see like how you feel and don't be afraid to write how you feel because like it's all like thought control in this place. Like, I was afraid to even think that An Sang Hong might not be God or that Heavenly Mother, whatever, might not be God. I was genuinely like afraid to even think those thoughts, let alone write them down. But I think like if you got a diary, just write how you think and write how you feel, and don't worry that you're gonna offend father and mother by not believing in them or having doubts. Because to be honest, like they're not very easy to believe in. Like, if you're not fully brainwashed.
Yeah.
Like, because it's like it doesn't even make sense. All like, the stuff about them, like, I've met Heaven Jangyoja, I'll still call her Heavenly Mother. But like,
Yeah.
I've met her and like she's not God, you
Yeah.
know? Like she's not even close to like Jesus or anything. Like, so I would say like if you write down all these like doubts that you have and all these thoughts, then you can think clearly. And I think it will help you to like leave. Um, Besides that, trust your instincts as well, because I think we're taught to push them down a lot. Like if we feel uncomfortable about something, sometimes it's like that's your sinful nature, but it's not. It
Yeah.
is just like your intuition and your instincts and everything. And it's like, why would God give you these instincts if you weren't supposed to use them?
Right.
Like, why would God make you give you these instincts that make you feel uncomfortable when something wrong is happening in the church right in front of you, and then like just expect you to like just bury it? Like, it doesn't make sense. So I would say like trust those instincts. If you feel uncomfortable because of something happening in the church, it's probably because it's bad.
Yeah.
And it's bad deep down, but you're
Yeah.
taught not to question it. So yeah, those two things. Make a diary and trust your instincts.
I love that. I love that because I think that that's great advice. I haven't heard that one before, and that's actually I was thinking about it when you were saying that. That's awesome advice. I want to encourage the members that are watching this to take Shakira up on that advice. I would say write your diary, your journal, right? Of, like you said, everything that goes on in a day in the World Mission Society, what you're being taught, what you feel, what you're being told. Why? Because later on, like you said, Shakira, like you can compare and contrast. You might
Mm.
be told, on this day the world's gonna end, right? On this time, or mother said through this sermon, this is the final year. This is how they made me feel, that it was implied this is going to be the final year of the gospel work. And you can go back to it and see, wait a second, they did this here, here, here. They contradicted themselves here, here, here. And to have it in writing, I think that would be very solid. And also write down your genuine feelings, not what you, because we all know, if there's current members watching this, you will never tell your true feelings to like a leader or overseer or
Mm.
someone, because again, these snitch festivals, right, where they're gonna snitch you out. So be honest with yourself, write how you feel, and then read it over time, you know what I mean, and see if you really believe that this is the true church after reading your own thoughts, you know what I mean, from what you're writing down, you know what I mean, and your experience. Because I think that that's actually great advice, where someone can snap themselves out of it and be like, wow, like this is reading my diaries making me depressed, like this is all things that I'm going through in this place. And so no, I think that that's great advice, Shakira. Once again, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm going to post that link for your books on the description. I think that people should get them. I'm definitely going to check those out. Very interested in it, and looking forward to talking with you again soon. That being said, I hope that everybody that watched this episode today found it beneficial. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Diffusing the WMSCOG.